Welcome, everyone, to the Lightgate. This is January the 19th, 2026. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast. We are on Facebook, we're on Roku, we are on Rumble, and we are on YouTube. We have an extremely stellar night coming at you tonight. I want y'all to buckle up. This is a good one. Thank you to our sponsor. We love you, Carnation. You've been with us for a while now, and you do good by us, and we thank you very much, and y'all check them out. All right, Preston.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for episode number 142 of the Lightgate. Remember to follow us on our Lightgate page. We always advertise there, so you know which guests we have coming up. Last week, we did a master class in OBEs and psychic development. That went really well. Check it out if you didn't get a chance to watch it live. All the shows are archived. We have a great guest next week, but super excited about tonight's guest. I'm going to be pretty quick in our hellos because we really want to get to our guest. So just know that we all love you. I, of course, am your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Safran. Let's just take a quick look-see to see who we have here in chat, because it's because of you guys we do this show. So I'm going to be fast. I promise Dolly, because we really do want to get to our guest. So we've got Starprint Shop. We've got Michael Kennedy. We've got a nice crowd already. Teresa Levine and Chuck Sarika Van Life. Thank you for joining us. Scarlet Fire and Johnny J2B. We have Olivia Escamilla. Happy Monday. Blessings and light. Namaste. Thank you for your unbelievably endless generosity. We love you dearly. Couldn't do it without you. Ash Venus Aphrodite. Hello.
Hi.
We got Marshall J. Brown. Oh, that's very nice of you. I've been doing this for a while. We got Karen Swain. We have Cherise Bazilla. We have the Owl Man and Bob Thorson. Oh, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
So much. We truly appreciate that. Perennial Philosophy. We got Martin Rivera. He's coming up as a guest. He's been on twice before. So yeah, a lot of you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please don't be hurt if I don't catch your name, because we do really want to get to our guests. But thank you, Little Dove, and all you other lovely folks here. Louise,
everybody, Scarlet Fire, everybody.
Kelly, we love all of you. Jay Hardstein, Nipa Koku, Poetic Poems. Couldn't do this without you. Carrie Bell, you guys are all amazing. Z Sundragon, Cosmic Television. Yeah, we love you guys. Thank you, Rocco, Chris T. Where you been?
Oh my goodness.
Alabama Jammer. All right, you guys, I got to get to the show. Also, yeah, we do answer questions with our guests. So if you have questions, get them in nice and early. But right now, I want to get to our guest. Let me pop up his name. So Emery Smith is our guest tonight. Very cool. Both Dolly and I did get a chance to meet him face to face and really talk quite in depth. So that was a real joy. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He is a veteran, a scientist, inventor, explorer. He wears many hats, a humanitarian. And I would underline that because, oh my gosh, what I've heard. He's an amazing guy. Government whistleblower and the host of Gaia TV's #1 show, Cosmic Disclosure. He's worked on a consultant for Discovery Channel's Blind Frog Ranch. His experience also includes a long-term role as consulting investigator at Whitehorse Exploration, focusing on advanced research in volumetric imaging technology, and serving as chief operations officer at ArcLight Ministries since January 2016. His other engagements include work as a biotech consultant specializing in biologics and cellular therapies, alongside years of volunteer service at organizations such as World Peace One and Octagon Wildlife Sanctuary. He's got all kinds of interesting animal stories. Previous leadership experience includes ownership of Ultra Intelligence Corporation and a role as chief scientific officer at DC Education, which was completed at the U.S. Air Force Institute of Technology. And to top that all off, he is also, and this should not be at all surprising, an experiencer. And that's just beginning. I mean, we're really just touching the tip of the iceberg here, as we'll see. So let's just bring on our wonderful guest and we can get going.
Welcome, Emery.
Hi, Emery.
Hi, Dolly. Hi, Preston. Thanks for having me on the show.
It is
Yes,
an honor. Thank
that's
you.
what we want to say too. Thanks for coming on, because it was
Yeah,
just a joy meeting you.
Yeah, it was interesting meeting you guys, and the correlations were unfathomable, of course. Dolly growing up just 100 miles from where I grew up and had my experiences, when I was only in first grade. So I think these are interesting concepts, also military-based families. I'm Air Force, Navy, and Army. Dolly also has experience with her family being military and herself, like myself, and the contact work, but and the frequencies stuff that were shared. I can definitely vouch for Dolly being and Preston. Some of the most amazing people when it comes to doing anything where you're really trying to use telepathy, because telepathy is something you learn over many, many years. It's not like a language you can pick up in just a couple years at a college or something. It's something that has to do with emotional intensity, intense frequencies, and a packet of information that could be a whole book in one thought.
Yeah.
And Dolly is definitely a master of that, and it was really fun having her on Cosmic Disclosure. As you know, I'm with Gaia TV, have the #1 show, Cosmic Disclosure, over 12 million followers. It was great to have her on there and, see her, dynamic and listen to her story from someone who I didn't do too much research. They don't like me talking to the people I'm interviewing or researching them prior to the show, so everyone knows. And it was unfortunate for them that, Dolly knows telepathy. So we already knew all the information since we sat down in the hot seat, and oh my gosh, it just
we jumped into it.
It was effortless.
Yes.
It was amazing to watch. You both had this amazing animal connection too, working with animals, and it just goes on from there.
I would love to talk about that because I grew up. I remember my father taking me to the Octagon Wildlife Sanctuary in the early 70s. I want to say, I don't know, 79. I don't know what it was. So that was literally, just a few minutes from our home out there in the middle of nowhere. So I would go out there and see all the animals, and my dad became close with the owner there, and we were big supporters for them. And I started volunteering. So it was really cool, and I'm already on a farm doing all the goats, horses, chickens, cows, and swine, and everything else. This was just let's add some tigers, lions, baboons, emus, and ostriches, and three-legged animals or whatever. It was interesting because these are all the animals that nobody wants.
No,
and
I know.
You have to have a big heart. And what was great to find out is, Dolly, you have an actual center.
Well, would knock this down. Yeah. Our family had a zoo in Dade City, Florida, and we had almost 70 acres and 350 animals on board. And it took years to build the zoo. Everybody had to be certified, and everybody worked 365, 24/7. And it was a labor of love. And it was very enriching. It was enriching for anybody who came there. I spent my youth as a STEP program. The STEP program is Student Teaching Everglades Program. And I started when I was 12, and I went into when I was 17. I was a park ranger, a student park ranger in the Everglades National Park, because I lived out there. And I also worked at this aquarium. And I volunteered to do zoo stuff at the Miami Zoo. Started out with Crandon Park. My dad actually designed part of Crandon Park Zoo. He designed all the play area and the little stuff on the beach and stuff like that, and part of the zoo itself. And then then when it shut down, it became the Miami Zoo. They had a whole new, place to go. It was fantastic. I want to ask you a question. I could not help it with animals. Animals would come to me. They would cotton up to me real quick.
Uh,
I seemed to know what they were doing. I knew when one was sick or getting sick, that kind of thing. Did you have those things happening to you when you were working with them?
Yeah, I mean, the bond with animals is an energy exchange, actually. So it's
Yes.
not even, especially when you're scooping up their poop and taking it outside. Just an inside joke. I know you probably have to cut that out, Dolly. I didn't press that. I didn't mean to swear.
No,
Oh, that's all right.
You know, when you're
true.
cleaning up someone's Hershey squirts, animals or not, you know, that you got a bond going, and I say that kind of funny, but I'm actually serious, because when you show love and care for any being, especially with animals, and I've noticed this, they have a lot to give you and offer you, and they can train you with senses too.
Yes, they can. Yes, they.
If you just shut up and watch them, you
right.
know, I always tell my students, yeah, I had you go in that cage, I had you clean up everything, and I just said, sit with the damn tiger and don't talk, and you can pet them. You can't talk. That's the secret. You have to visualize, watch, throw the ball, whatever.
Yeah. Did you chuff?
What?
Did you chuff? You know?
Chuff.
Yeah, chuff.
Yes,
See,
you can chuff. Yes, you can definitely chuff, of course.
Chuffing allowed.
Yeah, chuffing's allowed.
Yes.
And, you know, especially if there's any, depending on what kind of animal makes what kind of sound, you know.
Yeah.
Confirmation complete. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's B2 saying, yes, we have to make sounds. And so I think this is another thing I'm glad you pointed out, that actually gave growing up, I think people that do grow up on farms and with animals, or especially I was gifted to be with pretty much every animal known to man, including the serpents, you know, big snake farm and cobras. And, you know, we had a venom clinic going down there. We started, and there was a lot of interesting medicinal stuff that was coming out of people that were trying to kill all these animals. And, you know, hats off to you for that too. It just shows, you know, how we are of service being here, volunteering and putting our hearts out there for, you know, the humans and the animals. And, you know, it was just a great experience. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, I think I think there's this amazing, not only telepathy, it's a knowing of the aura that emits from an animal, whether their hair raises off their back or their eyes dilate real quick, or that you can just watch a nostril from far away flare, and you can see where they're pointing that nostril. Very subtle facial things. And that's how animals do. They see micro movements of the whoever is right. And you can back me up on this, Dolly. This is a real thing that's proven scientifically. They're not looking at you're doing a hand signal. No, they're looking at micro.
Going to do, you know, old world monkeys, you know, let's talk about macaques. Okay. They're an old world monkey, and you don't, when they get old, when they're babies, they're not really into that yet. Their hormones haven't kicked in, and they haven't gone to the instinct of, if you look one square in the eyes, that's a threat. If
you do not do that with any.
No, you show your teeth, that's a threat. Okay.
Oh yeah, this.
When we had people in the zoo, I would tell them, you can't look at the old world monkeys dead in the eye. Please don't do it. Look up to the sides of them, look down, look up, never in the eyes. Do not show your teeth. Take your sunglasses off, because they think you have giant eyeballs, and that's a really big threat. And everybody would comply. And one day somebody didn't. And we had
always somebody
lose his mind, and I had to
put him
away, and I ejected him. I said, you have to leave the group. You can't, if you're not gonna respect the rules. And so I started giving, when we used to do summer camps with the kids, and so I started teaching respect, because they respect us if we respect them. And one of the greatest ways, and you're right, is the communication, to see how they act, to see how they verbally communicate with one another, to watch them, to learn their language. And it's fascinating. And if you start young, and you start doing it when you're young, and you really pay attention to it, by the time you're an adult, you can walk anywhere or go anywhere, and any animal will be your friend, you know?
Yeah. Wild animals too. It's a question I always ask contactees now. And when you started talking about animals the way you were, I'm like, this guy's a contactee I know now for sure, because all of them have this amazing connection. And it's funny, I always tell people, like, oh, I'd really like to meet an extraterrestrial. Start working with animals. These are different species.
Right.
And it's an absolute really good introduction to what it's like to be a contactee, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point, Preston. Really, I mean, I'm glad you note that. That's a great training for someone for accepting this creature for what it is and giving it the time of day, whether it's a rat or a monkey or your dog, and just looking at it for an hour and do unless it's that, you know, don't do that with the monkeys. But all I'm saying, that was a joke, Dolly.
Yeah,
so I do have some nerdy jokes throughout this. You can cut me short.
I got it. I thought it was good.
Yeah. So Darla usually handles that for me and puts the duct tape on. But yeah, I think that's really great. And you know, another thing is when I started doing contact work more professionally when I got out of the military, you know, I would bring our dogs and animals, you know, during these events.
Yep.
And you'd be surprised how animals calm down real quick when ETs are around. It's not so much you see in the movies where they're going at the, you know, the farmhouse door, trying to break the door, barking. They're like really relaxed. You're going to bark, get excited at the beginning, and then they're going to be like, oh, we've already talked to them. You guys got to catch up. We're just going to sit here next to you.
Yep, they know it too. They know before most people do.
So I could be walking in. I've had many, you know, I used to train animals too, and people would say, oh, this is the most nightmare dog or the most nightmare cat, nightmare, you know, whatever. And I would walk in and there'd be no problem. At the airports, wherever I'm at, dogs, even if they're service dogs, will stretch out their cable to come and people are like, my dog's never done this before. You know, so there is this knowing of having some of this genetic frequency that you have shedded, that they have shedded on you, actually.
Exactly.
And that you can absorb that. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I'm one of they called me Mother Doolittle at the zoo. And in my lifetime, it's dogs, babies, and old people will just walk right up to me and go, how are you doing? And it's like, how are you? You know, and have long conversations with me out of nowhere. And it's because they feel the energy coming off of me. You know, they see that I'm okay. And it amazes me. I attract that all the time. And I wish I could see everybody attracting that all the time. That would be fantastic to walk out.
Right? that would be a good one to duplicate. I agree. Another thing I share with you, I probably haven't shared with you, is I did a lot of underwater filming photography for National Geographic, for Discovery Channel, when I was hooked up with Manny Puig and David Weathers and the Jackass kids that were doing a lot of wild animal stuff.
And
it was really fascinating to I was a scuba diver forever, but I had to learn some additional skills because these free divers, they don't take any oxygen. They go down there, they interact with the sharks, you know, the alligators, whatever. And I've really have a great bond with alligators and with the sharks and the rays and the whale sharks and the whales. And, you know, growing up, you know, of course, on the coastline there on Sanibel Island, dolphins were an everyday event. It was like, even in the rivers in the Caloosahatchee as a little boy going to check crab traps, it was like manatees surrounded me. You know, and we have a joke every time we go up to Siesta Key once a year. I take Darla up there to get her in her water time. There's this one manatee that comes up at every time on the beach tour, and it's hilarious. It was the funniest thing you ever seen. Because the first time it happened to her, I saw it coming, and I didn't say anything, and my phone was recording. I'll send you the video.
Oh, cool.
And then she's looking. And she's filming to some other direction. I see this giant, you know, size of a Volkswagen bus, this big, you know, 1,200-pound fatty coming through. And because I call him in. As soon as I go in the water, I guarantee you, especially in the coastal waters of Florida, I have dolphins, manatees. I'm surrounded. They're just everywhere. And you know how, Dolly, how we, us Floridian people, and also just being who we are, we have that connection with the waters. And I do call them. I do try to get that frequency out but for the most part, they kind of know. And I do set spaces and beaches prior for me going there, kind of the same way I do when I do contact work. I'll set an area and set that space, you know, and I have my own little protocols that I
do the
use.
same exact thing. There are 3 places in Panama City that I go to. And then in Florida, St. Pete and Sarasota, I have set places that I go to, you know. And then when I grew up in Miami, there were 4 places that we went to, and they would always just show up, you know. And the manatees were a little bit harder because in the Everglades, the way it's set up out there, it just depends on where in the Everglades you are. But yeah, they'll come. And when people are riding airboats and stuff like that, they kind of like, and they don't show up for that. They're afraid of them. I'm so glad they changed the law about airboats, by the way. But yeah, it's amazing. When my daughter was really little, first time I did it for her, she was 3 years old, and we went out to this little island, Shell Island, off of Panama City, and I said,
"Oh, sure, yeah,
I'm going to call the dolphins." And you know, and she says, "Mommy, there's little, you know, jellyfish everywhere." And I said, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." And so I went out there, and the jellyfish generally give me way. They push out. And then I started my call, and 4 of them showed up, and she lost her mind. She could not believe her eyeballs. And they're playing with us and, you know, squirting water at us and stuff like that. And then fish started, and I said, well, they're going to go now because look, there's fish. And they did. They went after her. And she was just like, that's totally crazy. I did it to my cousin too, Kathy. We finally took a day on the 4th of July in 2014 to go to the beach in St. Pete. And you know that hotel that's round and it has the restaurant that goes around on the top?
Oh,
there. And after the day before the 4th, we went hanging around and shopping and stuff. And then we went on a boat ride to the island that's out there. And the dolphins instantly started following the boat. And when we got off the boat to go to the island, they were just right behind us. And I got that all on tape. And she said, they don't do this. I do this a lot. And they're never around. And I said, you know,
I think people give animals short shrift because they're fully conscious. They're absolutely sentient beings. There was that documentary, My Octopus Friend. People should absolutely watch this. They're so intelligent.
Yes.
But we've talked about animals for 20 minutes. I know we could do a whole show on this. I want to hear about your UFO experiences. And there's a couple of people in chat who are asking about that as well. So
yeah, sure. I mean, you know, I think, you know, I partially grew up in New Jersey, New York, and Southern Florida. And I think, you know, I knew at a very young age that things were different. I was different. You know, I was gifted to be with some great educational type parents that love to educate, read books, and get heavily involved with Mutual of Omaha every Sunday watching.
Love that show.
You know, I'm showing my age here. And so these were early 70s, and I would get, like, my gifts as a kid wouldn't be a toy or something, it'd be like 170 flip cards of animals and where they're from. And, you know, so, and that was fun for me. So I knew, like, I breezed through biology and science because my dad was, you know, he was an engineer, and not just gasoline diesel engines, but he also knew everything about circuit boards and, you know, solar, and he could pretty much build anything out of, you know, a couple of coconuts. So we didn't really, I didn't really have the need to, I was getting educated the whole time growing up. And one of my first experiences is I was laying in bed in Florida, and we lived on a pretty big, farm out there, 20 or so acres. And we had a little lake there the house was on the lake. And I just remember laying in bed, and I go to bed pretty early because I'm up the earliest, because I have to feed all the animals first thing in the morning. And I always get up before they play the national anthem at 5:30 or 5 a.m. on ABC, NBC, TV. And I have to fill all the water jugs for the house for the day, because we have a well. We don't have regular water that we would normally use in the house. You know, like, we would have to use the well water, specifically straight from the spigot. And I got tricked into that because my mom said I was an Aquarius, so that's why I had to do that job.
Smart mama.
So I was like, okay, it's an important job.
Can't argue with that.
in addition to, doing all that. So I woke up in the middle, I went to bed at probably 8, and I remember it was pretty late. I couldn't tell exactly, but probably after midnight, between midnight and 3 a.m. And I have great dream time as a child. I can control all my dreams. I can go anywhere, astral project anywhere on the world and the universe, planets, ETs, whatever. It was an open. I could visit anyone that I set the intention to visit. I was in a hypnagogic state and getting well rested all night long. You never had to tell me, Emery, go to bed. I was like, I want to go to bed. I just like, I love being asleep.
Yep.
So I was awakened, and I just remember looking up and saying, I heard, oh, just come outside, like go outside. And here I am, second grader, and I jump out of bed and I go out to the front door and I walk out, and within not even probably 100 feet, there's the lake, and I walk out. I just remember seeing this beautiful glowing giant disc craft, and you could see the reflection off the lake too. And it was closed. I could see the occupants, these lean, tall, beings, and they were just communicating with me. And they were downloading me this information and all sorts of interesting things. And they were just saying that this may or may not happen again. This is very safe. Your family knows about us. Everything's cool. So I was just like, okay, yeah, all right. I better go get mom and dad, because I'm supposed to do that when we have guests. So I turn around. I go inside. This is not a hypnagogic state. I'm awake with dirty feet. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I'm knocking on their master bedroom door, and they're like, "What's wrong, Emery?" And I opened the door. I said, "Oh, there's a spaceship out here, above the lake, and I just want to let you guys know, when out here we've been chatting and stuff." And I just remember looking at them, and they're like, looking at me. And they said, "Oh, well, that's okay. Just don't talk about it at school tomorrow."
Wow.
I was like, and
Wow.
you have to understand, I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it that back then like that. But that was, now I look back, and of course now I know everything, but they didn't really share anything about the family's contact at all, or their work with that in classified projects like my dad and stuff. So that was like how it started becoming an easy thing for me to access these entities and figure out silly things, whether it be homework at school but I was utilizing it as a tool. It wasn't like, this is my buddy. This was like,
did you go learn from them? Did they ever take you anywhere?
They didn't take my physical body anywhere, but they showed me things in like astral projection. They would show me different types of libraries that they had, quantum libraries, I would call it. And it was really, fascinating stuff.
Totally.
And but the downloads is what like saved my life too, later on in life. So this now, I remember I was like 13, and my dad's like, "Hey, I know you love planes. There's this auxiliary of the Air Force, the Civil Air Patrol. It's probably something you'd be interested in. You want to go check it out?" And I was like, "Yeah," because I'm already military trained. I'm already a survivalist. My dad's taught me everything. Live off the land. I don't need nothing. I need my little Kmart buck knife and Red Ryder BB gun. Which, I can kill anything with that. So it was like I was set. And I was, my dad had me shooting guns, and I was really young. We had, of course, our own gun range. So, and he made me do it by the book. There was no, you get to shoot one shot at a time, put the gun down, check out everything. He was teaching me patience. It was all about patience, respecting the gun. So, so of course that all carried in. So yeah, I joined this thing. Next thing you know, we're flying planes. I'm around really great group of people and retired Air Force, guys, getting my pilot's license, flying Cessna 152s, 172s, Cessna Skymaster push-pulls.
Oh my gosh.
And
Oh,
this
wow.
is all before I went in. And then he was like 2 years into that, he's like, oh, they have an Army ROTC too at your high school. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to do that too. So I was doing that auxiliary, then the Army ROTC, and graduating early and going down to MacDill Air Force Base every other week doing these weird tests. So, you do your ASVAB and it's like, okay, yeah. And then all of a sudden, well, did I fail the ASVAB? Why did I gotta go back? Oh no, it's part of protocol. I don't know. I get to go on an Air Force base and look at jets, and I'll take any test you want. I'm just all gung ho. So you're brainwashed pretty early that you're going to go save the world and kill people or do whatever.
Yeah.
And it's sad, of course. I'm against all that now, but it's one of those things that this was like, I don't believe my family was prepping me for anything or whatever. I really wanted to be a pilot. And I got scholarships from the Army, the Navy, the Marines on their pilot programs. But I wanted to go to the Air Force. They wouldn't give me a scholarship.
Back what weird tests do you mean?
So these tests these were kind of just like, for me, like if you ever taken an IQ test, it was an advanced ASVAB test. So you still have to talk about motors and all the sprockets and this and that and
spatiality.
Do they test you with psychic abilities at all?
Absolutely. Yeah. They did some stuff where they would kind of like you see on Ghostbusters with the card games, but they had stuff that was projected on a projector, and you sit in a room and they would say, write down something, and I would write down something, and then they would show the picture after.
Right.
And so let's say if I wrote, like, if I drew a square and then put green and then put like wavy signals, they would show, and then all of a sudden there'd be a green, bluff with a farmhouse on it with the wind blowing the trees. So I didn't know what any of that meant back then, but I knew I was going into remote viewing. Now I knew, because that's what I started doing, a lot of remote viewing first.
Wow.
And they basically said, hey, we got a medical type scholarship program. It's a new thing called a surgical apprentice program. And we really want you to go in that. And I don't even know what that is. It's not something you can check off at that time. And this is, also about a year before I'm 18. I'm already signed up and ready to go in.
Amazing. Wow.
And so I took this surgical apprenticeship program. It was great, just like any other Air Force person, you go through these different types of tech schools, the mediocre stuff, and then it led me into different types of trainings with surgical assisting and surgical organ harvesting, which I became really proficient at. And that's kind of when they pulled me from my regular job and they said, hey, we have some things we think you'd be good at. It's a moonlighting position and it pays like double what you're paying now.
Huh? All right.
And I was like, wow, I'm all in, because, I'm thinking I need to buy this motorcycle that I've been dying to have,
Sure.
So it's kind of funny things like this that when I look back at how, even though I was, aware and smart, there were still a lot of things being thrown in my face for this pre-training, and some of the things that, I had to go sign, of course, papers, which I thought was normal, because when I went in, you had to sign papers, right? But this was different, because you had to sit down and have interviews, and they're saying, you can't talk about this in your dorm. You're not allowed to associate with anyone you see here. You can't, mention, you can't even tell your non-commissioned officer or your commanding officer.
That's right.
That you're doing this work. And I said, well, how am I going to get paid? And they said, no, that's a separate check that doesn't come, from the government. This is going to be a separate, whatever. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. Here's my bank account, direct deposit. And because these governments their security was basically their security for the corporational conglomerates that are running these biotech laboratories.
Yeah.
Whether it's biotech, whether it's weapons, whether it's rockets,
Right.
it's like you have to understand when currently Air Force Base, the 5th largest base in the world, has Sandia Labs, which is another base within a base.
Right.
And they ran out all those floors to Raytheon, to all these different types of high upper echelon corporations that do basically it's all for government, military type industrial complex kind of thing. And so I was basically working, I was active duty, but I'm really working for a corporation.
Right. You become a contractor.
So that was it. You're a contractor. Yeah. And so then I came into that, and next thing you know, some of the tissue samples, because I thought it was for fallen soldiers organ harvesting, but they started me out, well, the first couple weeks, we just want to see how effective you can do this. So there'd be like a muscle with some arteries and veins and a nerve, and I would dissect those away and send them in a vacuum tube somewhere or whatever. So I was like, gosh, this is so easy and stupid. And then next thing you know, there was like let's say a muscle, but I don't know this muscle. I've never seen this muscle before from whatever it came from. And I was not as familiar, I was pretty familiar with animals, but that wasn't my specialty until later on, where I took advanced anatomy classes and became, veterinarian level, type of clinical specialist, because of all my inventions had to do with veterinarian and animals and dogs and all that stuff. So I saw this and was like, okay, whatever. And then, so these samples started getting larger, and some would actually be maybe half of a hand. Now, this is not a hand like you and I. This could be a scaly hand. It could be a gelatinous hand. It could be a skin color I've never seen. It could have hair, maybe not have hair. It could have maybe, it could have claws. It could have different types of the nails, like she's talking about.
So at this point, did you realize what you were looking at?
Well, they told me one of the things they said, oh, look at little baby.
There we go.
Okay.
This is the girl, R2.
Oh, pretty girl.
She's the little one. And B2 she's about 165 pounds, and they're 2 years old. They're still puppies. All right, B2, you wanna come up? B2, B2's stuck. Come up. You're on airtime. Right?
Hey, boy.
I think because R2's in the way. But yeah, so they're from the same litter. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So, well, you said I could have dogs on the show.
That's right.
we
don't call them dogs, since I made them in a petri dish. They're dragons.
Our Duchess will always show up at some point.
You're not going to say it. I'm going to say it out loud. Okay. What people don't realize is that if they're recovering bodies, they were trying to learn how to dissect their anatomy and do medical grade biotechnology. So that's what that was all about,
Yeah. And thanks for pointing that out. I don't get to know where this came from. I don't get to ask what it is. All I know is this is a piece of tissue from unknown origin, or other than Earth origin, or unknown origin. And I have to write a report of my findings of whatever they wanted me to do, whether it be maybe just take the epithelial layer of that tissue, or the inside of the artery or the vein, or, it's very specific. It's not just something like in a butcher shop, and very advanced tools that we weren't using normally in surgery. I became an expert at surgery. I've been, assisted in all surgeries as a surgical first assist. And I want everyone to know I'm not an MD. I have over 450 college credit hours, enough for 3 PhDs, but I decided not to do that because of my inventions. It's not good being an MD telling another MD, hey, you're doing that wrong.
No,
Use my system. They don't like that.
no.
But it all worked out. And when I saw these samples come into bodies, and they told me, they said, Smith, 5% of what you're seeing is just a bunch of stuff that, just fake. So I did believe at the beginning, Dolly, until my awareness really kicked in. And that's where it got really unsettling for me and hard to work there, is that they were growing things. And I know that for a fact. I mean, they were growing things. They had a hybridization program. They had many of these vats of different species, alive and dead, and in stasis. And I'm not talking cryogenic. They use special, they use special plasma fields of energy. So it looks like it's just like anti-gravitic in these vats, but it's completely contained, completely healthy, and they can wake it up whenever they want. And this means beings. Think of any being, any creature here on planet Earth, including plants, and elevating them 100 million years into the 5-star pentagram of a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs, and conscious.
Yeah, that's because they're getting AI that's conscious and biologic. And it's more like a plant with a brain than anything else. It's a conglomeration of technologies altogether. And they were trying to learn how to make it themselves, to produce it themselves. They had the template, and that's what they were aiming for. And now they're trying to, what AI is all about is they want to try to integrate AI into this type of being, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about it openly. You know what I'm saying? And
thanks for sharing that, because back then, this is before cell phones, computers, and
right.
I mean, we had pagers. I'm sorry, and those big block cell phones, but nothing I would be privy to. For what I was doing, we only had pagers because this was 1990. 30 some years ago, and that was pretty advanced for back then. So when I saw these creatures and different things, then I was introduced to different surgical teams. These teams were either hybrid humans or they were 100% extraterrestrials that I was working with in the 3D, shoulder to shoulder, scrubbing in, meeting them, treating each other as we were just regular people going to surgery, changing out in the locker room, putting your stuff on, going into these special rooms and conducting organ harvesting, but not from human beings. These were definitely, of course, now I know these are different alien races. These are hybrid races. These are maybe they look like humans, but they're not on the inside. Some of these things have been grown there. They have conquered the capability of cloning. Not to say that the brain can keep up with the clone's body. They have a hard problem because of total recall. So it's kind of like even when we duplicate stem cells, we take one stem cell from a donor, and then we excite that and we make it, go ahead and multiply into another cell, and then we throw that cell out. You still have the crystalline structure frequency of the cell that it first originated from, and it's like a hard drive to the universe.
Yeah.
And that's what's really cool and really scary. And every one of us have it. It's just when you're trying to be duplicated after you killed the whole body of an individual,
you eject the soul, you eject the consciousness from the body. It's no longer riding with it, and so you create something that it does not have that on board anymore. And the physical mind can't exist without consciousness, and it just drives itself crazy, loses control of itself, and absolutely will commit internal suicide. It'll drop dead.
And it's so what we found, Dolly, and you can explain this maybe, is these clones, not all of them, just a certain percentage, just like a certain percentage of stem cells go rogue and go bad,
Yeah.
by the way, not all stem cells are great grown.
Yeah.
You still have mutations. So let's just say out of 1,000 clones, 3% of them might go a little wacky and they start remembering. So they literally remember who they used to be.
That's right. Yeah. Well, all of genetics are funny, right? We carry within us the genetics of every person who's ever been bred into us. Okay, and some people have the ability to, even us, to recall those humans that we were, that we physically made us, other than our consciousness. And sometimes we realize that when we wake up to it, that we were that person, and somehow we made it to this body, so we're traveling through family lines and coming back in and out. So we're talking about indwelling at this point, okay? And then we're talking about when the cells come together to create the body, what do the genetics have to do with that? And does the consciousness, because of the astral body, does the astral body carry a DNA code as well? And they're starting to realize that's true, that your astral body has a key code in it as well, that brings your memory of who you are into you as well. Because you can't just know who you are. Your consciousness is going to try to talk to you right away, and it does, but it's got to program this brain from birth or pre-birth into your life, right? And it's really interesting. And when you sit there and you think about it and think about it and think about it, and you're like, oh my God. I want to tell you something else. And this is the most profound thing that I say to people, and you made the point for me, so I'm going to bring it up again. Our bodies are a template for all life in existence in the entire universe. All of it. All biological life. All of it. From plants to trees to bees.
Have genetics.
Bonobos and bananas to raspberries. Everything. All of it. We are the template. That connects us to everything in the universe all at the same time. And so one of the things that upsets me is that there are people who are so blind, with no empathy whatsoever toward humanity, and they're the ones that are driving all this technology here now. Okay, and ET's messages, y'all need to back up. You need to think about what you're doing here, because their technology is literally light technology. It is not this. They've evolved way past that, and they've learned that if you overshoot yourself, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're going to destroy yourselves doing so, and they don't want us to do that to ourselves. But we have egomaniacs on this planet. We want them to stop. And I'm talking as a hybrid ET person, right? Okay. We want them to stop. We want you to consider, because they're not taking into account what consciousness really is, or what psychic ability really is. Because your consciousness is interdimensional. It's already in source. It's bringing itself out to be in the body here, and you've got that connection. You know, when you die and people say, "See the tunnel." That's your magic cord back into source. You're following your own tunnel into source. Okay, literally going back through where you came from. Okay, that's what you see. When you're OBing, you're connected to your heart. You have a cord that's around your body, and people say it's silver, but that's you connected to this body. ET does not indwell anybody else but themselves. That's why their craft are biological agents that they can indwell into to come here from other dimensions. Okay, and not all ET species or ethnicities are coming from the third dimension. Some of them are coming out from the fifth dimension as well, and even higher than that. But I wouldn't even go there to say that, because I couldn't explain that to you if I tried. We have to understand that one of the reasons that you and me and others like us worldwide have the abilities that we have, and that we're getting the downloads that we get, and now we're speaking out, and it's like we're at the precipice of a huge moment, and a lot of people got it wrong. We're the ones who are trying to tell you, think, work on yourselves, work on your own abilities. Don't put a chip in your head. You're psychic without it. You don't need it. All you have to do is clean up the vessel that you're in, heal yourself. And one of the cool things that I find with you is that you actually work on healing people. Okay.
Well, that
this is very cool.
My next question, because you're doing all these research for these folks, and it's somewhat constricting because you're working for them. So what prompted you to sort of get out of that situation and do work for, your own self and what you really wanted to do? because you've done such amazing humanitarian work.
Yes.
Well, I knew, Preston and Dolly, that, you know, this boat, I wasn't going to go on this boat for life. You know, I knew that I was conscious enough to know there's other things to do, and my experience is to see what the heck they're doing and get the truth, so I would at least know. Never thought I would share it with the world, by the way. I thought I was told this to keep this for me to help the world in different ways for healing. So all the training I had in cellular biology and super soldier programs, and also, you know, I was on a lot of different, I'll just say, projects where we're trying to understand, you know, how to like prolong your time in space for the body, and space travel, long-term space travel, like 1, 2, 3 years. So I was part of the stasis program. So I learned about cells, and I learned about, you know, how platelets are responsible for when we have to, you know, accelerate tissue recovery, because there's growth factors in these cells that dump out into the tissues, and they talk to these other cells and stimulate stem cells in growing. So I was thinking, hey, okay, I now know, you know, jump ahead, there were beings of all sorts and sizes. It led me to the craft that Dolly was talking about. These craft were alive. They had the same DNA as the actual beings that we were working on. Many times I wasn't going to the surgical room. I was going to a surgical hangar where these craft were. And I would have to take samples, and really archaic samples. I'm talking about with a number 10 blade, you know, and a kit, you know, and you know what I'm talking about. And really, you know, putting these in your spacesuit into these special collection tubes, which were sent out. And then I was able to understand more, like, okay, this being came from this craft. These are the tools they use. This is what the tools do. They're also organic. Might look like a stick or a rock to you, but it's like a trans-dimensional item here that you would just walk by on a hike. So I'm also into archaeology. I'm an amateur archaeologist.
Oh, nice.
And I've done a lot of that. I've always wanted to be growing up, and I had a fascination with dinosaur bones growing up. So it's great because I got to
that stuff too. So just so you know,
yeah,
I was digging up burial mounds and such.
So I got to do all that stuff, and throughout this thing. So getting back to, I just knew at this one time there was a body that came in, and the body, and, you know, growing up on a farm, you know, and squirrel hunting, you know, I know what a warm body feels like after it's killed.
Right.
And at this time, I was also, Dolly, injected with over 300 different alien DNAs.
You were injected?
I was injected over the many years with all these spike proteins from these creatures, because I couldn't work on these creatures unless my frequency was the same. It would dissolve the body if you were not, and they learned that the hard way. So they were injecting, you know, these technicians and doctors like with this frequency, which they later switched it to these special bands with magnets that emit the frequency, but still not the same. But these bodies would dissolve in some sort of protective system.
You just said it. They're designed, and this is one of the things that flew me out the window when I realized it. When they're captured or they die, they're designed to immediately degenerate. They go to fluid. Okay. And our people here found a way to stop the process, to put it in, as you say, stasis. They're also giant germaphobes with us, because when you come on board with ET, and they don't take everybody on board, those that they do are critical to them, actually, are that's why the hybridization, most people don't understand that I have DNA from them so that I can physically be with them. Okay. Yeah. I have to have that DNA. And it keeps me from getting sick from them, or getting, losing things I don't want to lose, and them getting sick from me as well. And they still put me through, every time I go on board, I have to be cleaned up. literally have to be cleaned up
Yes.
before you'll even let me near them. Okay. There's no clear path into the work that I do without going through that process. It is amazing to me. Most people who come on board wonder why it takes so long. You know, they wonder why the exam and all that. And it's because they're protecting you and them so that they can work with you. And you're in a type of stasis on that table as well. They have fields around you that you don't even realize are there. And yeah, it's a whole big thing. We are related to one another. Our DNA is very similar. We come from them actually, but we have evolved here genetically out because we have other things in our DNA that made us unique. Okay. And most people don't, you know, like when you have Denisovanian and Neanderthal and stuff like that, that's not originally from them. It's from here. This planet evolved with those on here. Okay. And we bred back into them from them when we came here. And it caused issues. It's amazing. They've learned a lot. They've really learned a lot about their bodies and who they are and what they are. My most largest main concern is, and I'm not always verbal about it, is that if you're doing it to protect yourself from them, it's the last idea you should be having. If you're doing it to find a way to annihilate them, it's the last thing you should be doing. Because when you're working with beings who are a billion years in advance of you and can hear every thought in your head and watch everything that you do and know you're going to do it before you even do it, that's a problem for you. Because they can avoid you, they can thwart you, they can do anything they want. And we're bloody lucky that they respect us as a people, as entities, as their children, and don't understand the value and the wisdom of how they're trying to work with us. And we're doing all this stuff. It's like, what? And we have the wrong people thinking this one through. And that's just,
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Your ability to understand that the technologies that we have are more advanced than anybody else, common man on this planet knows. They are hundreds of years in advance of where you think we are, because of the back engineered technology that they've learned from them. You know,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, one of the things what I was frustrated with, and I was spoiled, quite frankly, in the projects because I had access to anti-gravitics. I know 3D printing of food back then was unheard of, and they were doing it all the time, instantly. You know, you didn't have to wait long. Any kind of food with no chemicals, nothing in there to hurt you. Even their apothecaries and their pharmaceuticals were very purest of the pure, and the air systems, water quality. So I got to learn a lot about those things too, because I was on a project with helping with the air handlers on the space station and for the space shuttle. So I got to go to a lot of different little projects and learn science through all the different ones. And then we got into quantum. So what happened was I got a body, and the question was, why did you leave? And I got a body, it was warm, and I went in to the body and I was collecting an organ with another extraterrestrial surgeon, and the warmth of the body, I don't know if it was because of the genetics, but I felt the entire frequency in my body. And this being was kind of held there against its will. It had a lot to say through its frequency. It was not dead. That's the other thing. So a lot of these beings we get, the misconception was, oh, we can't save them. They must be dead. There's no response. You know, advanced biological beings go into a safe stasis so their own people can heal them, or their craft.
That's right.
And there's many times we would take the beings away from the craft and they would deteriorate quickly, but if you put them next to the craft was healing the being.
Yeah.
So I changed a lot of protocols on these sites, because we learned, you know, just while I was there, and they should have learned that a long time ago, but I guess it took them some time to understand frequencies and harmonics and stuff, because like Dolly said, that even though the inside the projects were hundreds and hundreds of years advanced, we're still stupid. And compared to the race that just came to visit, and they're not, bulletproof either. They fall, I don't care, even if they're interdimensional beings, which we deal a lot with, when they come to this dimension, they do fall under the laws and physics
That's
of
exactly
this three dimension.
That's
And
why they have to have that craft, period. That craft
yeah,
is home to them. It's their bubble, okay, that they can stay in to even get here. Because to come here any other way would annihilate them within seconds. They couldn't
yeah.
make it.
Mhm.
I say that all the time. I also know that they have craft here that are still alive, still functioning, and they're holding them. And they figured out how to do it. And you have no idea how perturbed I am over that idea all by itself. They should
Yeah.
let them go.
Well,
And
understandably, yeah.
it's not funny to me. And one in particular that I know exactly where it is. And if I could get to it, I would get it out. It is, we have to understand that, how do I put this? It's one thing to want to know someone and to get to know and learn from them. It's another to take what they give or what they're giving you and go too far with it and weaponize it. Okay. And that's what a lot of what the military industrial complex is doing. And
Yeah, we went back on our treaties, and that's why, we made all these, the deals, and, regardless of whose hands it fell into, whether that person thought it was going to the right hands, it was utilized for the wrong reasons.
exactly.
And this happens all the time.
Yep.
And that's why they look at us as children. We're still killing each other, which is a big no-no. That doesn't happen out there in space. You don't higher consciousness, which there's different levels of consciousness, for civilizations, of course. And we are in the books as the ones that have been suppressed the most. There's many beings from planets that started just the same way we did, and they are way more advanced than we
Way
are.
more advanced.
They have no cancers. They have no
We
problem.
have an F. We have an F. We really, really do. It's amazing to me. I know because I've been taught this by ET themselves. I know when it happened, and it's only gotten worse ever since that first moment. I don't get it. I keep, hoping that if we keep saying the right things and we keep putting the right information out there and teaching each other what's real and what's not, no misinformation or disinformation included, and the three biggies is we have to start training ourselves to heal. Okay. If everybody healed themselves first on this planet, things would change. You can't force an entire group to change. It starts with each individual person. That's the first thing we have to remember. The second thing we have to remember is that we communicate in a very, very brutal way, because the way we think and the way our DNA is treated by us, it comes out. And brutality is part of our process. It's part of our super genetics coming down generation after generation after generation to us. We have to heal that too. And then the third thing that I would tell everybody is that if we have to get off the slave train, because everybody on this planet has been so subjected to thinking a certain way and behaving and reacting a certain way. It's like a lab experiment where if you flip a switch, an animal's going to go this way and that way because they were trained to, and they don't even realize it happened to them. That kind of thing is happening to the world, literally, and we have to think for ourselves. So that's the third thing. And then the fourth thing is if you really want to know what ET thinks, does, and how they act and who they are, you can bloody make the call yourself. You have the ability to do that. Everybody's wired for it. We're born with that ability. And you and I are absolutely example A and B of that. Okay, we're born with this. We were lucky in that we had parents who were wise and taught us and made sure that we were educated and given us every opportunity to be everything we could be. Not everybody's given that opportunity, and so they need to learn to take that opportunity for themselves. And it's important.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's it. You have to start with yourself. And, a lot of my patients that we get now, and we treat the worst cancers and diseases out there that after modern medicine has failed these patients, they come to us. So we do have the world's worst patients. And, but when we're looking at them, we do something different that modern medicine doesn't do. And that's we treat the entire body, including astral, physical, mental, everything. And, when we scan you, we're scanning not just three-dimensional, cellular DNA, RNA chromosomes down to, your chromosomes, but we are also, looking at your emotional state. And a lot of diseases and cancers are emotional based. Pretty much most of them are emotional based or childhood trauma. Whether
past
you think
life
you
trauma
had
as well.
past life trauma. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I think, I think the new paradigm shift, that I'm bringing to the table is to go to a place that can measure all that and give you an accurate depiction and not send you home with a pill. And
Right. Yeah.
more of, let's teach you how to treat yourself and become the best human being you can. And it's really not available out there. We're just a small, emerysmith.co. You can check out our scans. We're such a small group. We're going to be creating this giant spaceship healing center here in Las Vegas, Nevada this year.
Cool.
But we're working on, but it's a big undertaking, and we want to get the education out, like through these podcasts and like what you're doing, because this is the educational platform that people are going to be brought to because of their energy.
Exactly.
Yep. So how did you extricate yourself out of that program to moving to where you are now?
So after I felt that, I didn't re-up my thing. So I was able to get out of the, I just filled up my time, with the military. And after I got out of the military, I still stayed contractor, and I still stayed as reserve, because I wanted to continue a little bit further. So I did that, and 8 years total with everything, 9 years actually with inactive reserve.
Wow.
And then I just said, okay, I have all this information. I'm just going to go create some things, open a corporation, here are a bunch of people, here's this young kid scientist, has all this secret information. So I went out, started doing it. And I was treating hundreds and hundreds of spinal cord injury patients. I was treating a lot of wound care patients. And I was submitting to the FDA my findings to get patents. And I must have hundreds and hundreds of filings. I got denied every time. Oh. And I'm like, I have more proof that I've cured this person than, them putting Flexeril out as a drug. I'm just picking any common drug that's out there. It doesn't need that much testing, trust me, compared to what I've done, because I'm more extensive. I did not understand patent terminology. I did not understand legal terminology. So the problem was, I was saying, well, my device, has done this already, and you can't say that. I could say my device concentrates platelets, growth factors, stem cells, and it's safe and effective for human use. But and then I can't say anything else.
Can you write a paper on it and put it into the scientific community?
Oh my gosh, I have hundreds of thousands of papers now. So what I did was I would show the doctors, hey, this is our findings. Maybe it'll work in your clinic. I don't know. Would you mind trying it out? So I hooked up with the Space Coast Aeromedical Institute, which is a contractor for NASA, and world's largest hyperbaric chamber there in Melbourne, Florida. I drove by it many times. Yeah. And so we do rapid decompression training for the astronauts and pilots, at night, and then during the day it's open to the public. So we do wound care and HBO, hyperbaric oxygen.
Nice.
So the first study I got for this doctor to do was, he was just showing when you upregulate a wound with oxygen, hyperbaric oxygen, all these new receptor sites come out of the cell. So think of a cell having a couple hoses sticking out of it, but then you put it under oxygen, then you have 1 trillion hoses sticking out, and all of these little hoses are looking for growth factors.
Right.
So if you put a high concentration of the body's own natural occurring healing factors, such as your platelets, onto there, it'll take all those and accelerate the healing 100 times. So after this happened and this was proven, it was very easy for me to start giving my systems away to doctors in neurosurgery, plastic surgery. They were already doing a lot of this in bone surgery and oral maxillofacial surgery, actually in Miami with Dr. Marks. But I already had a system out before the way he was doing it. So it was really great to see this starting to sprout. And it was perfect for me because I had orthopedic companies coming to me, hey, can we private label your device? Well, sure thing. Just keep pouring out those white papers. So like I said, I'm published at Stanford, Harvard, all the big wigs, all the little wigs.
And you can't get a patent on your process.
Oh yeah, we have, it's all patented. You can type in Emery Smith patents, you see 300 of my patents or more.
Okay.
And so the patents for that were a device for spinning down blood, bone marrow, fat, and concentrating specific cells, mesenchymal stem cells. That's one of many different patents I have, but that's the one I'm pretty much known for. And it did. It got out, and I decreased total knee and hip surgery by 55% in the United States.
Wow.
Amazing.
And that's because we started injecting PRP into the joints before actually doing a procedure. And the doctors were making money at it, so they liked it. I used to get kicked out of doctors' offices because they're like, no, you're that platelet-rich plasma guy. You're going to kill my entire, clinic here. There's no money it's not covered by insurance. So I had to come up with, now I had to start thinking business-wise, and that wasn't me. I had to learn all this from scratch. So I said, well, guess what? This person, you can actually avoid looking at their X-ray, MRI. You can actually avoid having surgery if you do this PRP injection, and it's the same cost as their down payment for their, for their hospital.
Right. Yeah. Your copay.
Their copay. So then he's like, oh wait, you're right. Okay, well that's different. So now I had to, figure out a strategic way for them to make money, and then it just took off, and everyone was battling who's got the best protocol for doing this. And there's just unlimited ways, and it sprouted all these regenerative medicine and different types of also organizations like the A4M and all these things. So I was a pioneer back in the day for that. I had the first accredited CME and CEU accredited academy. It's called the Florida Platelet Gel, Florida International Platelet Gel Stem Cell Symposium at the Space Coast Air Medical Institute.
Yeah.
So I was able to give train docs and give them continuing medical units and CEUs too for nurses. So that was a great accomplishment as well, since I didn't have an MD, but I can actually give CMEs and CEUs to an MD and help them. So they would want to come and learn from me. I would scrub into surgery with them, show how to apply it in a hernia surgery, axillary lymph node dissections, cholecystectomies, also a lot in neurosurgery, since I worked on the neuro team at UNM for a number of years. There's just a lot. It was a great to see your product go out and actually help people. And we saved millions of legs from being amputated because of the platelet-rich plasma gel. And of course, we also did peripheral artery disease, putting stem cells down the femoral arteries and growing all new vessels, which we cured it. That's already published at Ohio State University. So that's all my stuff. You're not going to find those white papers saying Emery Smith cured this. You're going to see the names of my systems that were used by these physicians to do it.
Okay.
So are you getting any significant pushback from the quote secret government or the medical community?
At the beginning, I was, but I was able to get around that. They did come after me and sue me, and I lost everything. I came from not any money anyway, and I did. I went to federal court. It was a big deal, and I just said, what do you guys want? And it was Big Pharma, and they said, I didn't know that they had this cream Johnson & Johnson made. It's called Regranex, and it was this 1/100th of a % platelet-derived growth factor. Not to get scientific on everyone, It's this cream that you bought, that they, it's a pharmaceutical that you crack open, put on your wound every day. And they made, I didn't know I was messing up a $500 million a year market just in Florida. And everyone stopped using that and started going to this system. So that's when they came down hard. And I basically signed over my, I had to do a licensing agreement with them. I mean, the judge looked at me and says, "You're out of money, you're out of this, and what are you going to do?" And they said, "The only thing you can do is stop what you're doing or go outside the doors and make a deal with these guys." And these guys basically bought a patent from some other doctor mixing blood with vitamin C. I don't do that at all, but they knew by taking me to court and I would have to fight, I would lose any money I already, didn't have or did have, and I did. So I had to give a percentage of everything I made to this corrupt corporation, for 10 years. And then the time that was done, though, the amount of white papers I've gathered made it irrefutable, and now it's standard of care everywhere. So that's one of the stories. So that's why I got out. But at the same time, the only reason I did that, invented that, was to fund my secret laboratory that we were making over Unity free energy devices.
Nice.
So that's why, I didn't come forward because of the big pharma coming after me. I came forward because, and they knew I was making it. They would visit me, the suits, and I had a big metal building, big laboratory with me and another scientist funding it. We put about $8.5 million into it of our own money. So, I was doing really well at one time with all the stem cell stuff, and we did it. We had the Bedini brothers helping us, and we had some modified devices that they had. And then they started threatening my business partner, and then they killed the Bedini brothers because they were working with us, and all in the same day, and no one talks about it. After they went and took them to lunch and had a heart attack there on the floor, and before he died, he said, "Hey, I'm poisoned." And then the brother went home, and then he died of a heart attack. And they're saying, "Oh, he was just so upset." So, but no one talks about this because it's me just talking about it could get sensitive. But you can see where this, this type of work I'm doing is really sensitive. I don't have any of those problems anymore because everyone gets sick at some point and everyone needs help. So I've been helping a lot of political figures, major corporation CEOs, and people that see the benefit that this should be out, not just for them and their families, but for everybody. And it shouldn't be a secret. And this technology, I won't, like my new frequency devices, I won't patent them because I know I'm going to get slapped on with the National Security Act. Because I've already tried patenting a couple things, and they NSA'd me, and they said, "Smith, come on, you already know we're not going to let this happen. Don't do it again." So I stopped doing it. And the next thing, that happened was I had to just start developing these and utilizing them just within our own medical team, and not making
John Long, one of Yvonne Smith's clients, who learned how from the ETs about energy-free quote type motors, had the NSA show up and basically said, "No, we're taking everything. You cannot patent this." This brings me back to your childhood experience where you got downloads of information that helped you further on as an adult. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I think they guided me into these special projects so I could be aware. You can't learn this stuff in any university. This had to be an experience to learn and be around people of such high IQ to train you about sciences that do not exist. And that means I had to drop my belief system entirely.
Which is not easy.
And it's not, I grew up, I was baptized Catholic in New York, and I'll tell you one thing, my parents escaped that by moving to Florida from the family. They became non-denominational Christian healers. And, quote unquote, all the herbs and witchcraft that we know. And, but, still believe in God and Jesus and everything. It's very important that you have some sort of solar connection of whatever that is for you. But for us, this was something that it was kind of, I'll just say, that path that was laid out, I would never change anything, even the bad stuff. You know, it was really helpful to mold me to help everyone else, because my whole service was I have to be able to, I like to fix things. So I'm a problem solver. So they would give me ideas, and there'd be some, because I'm not that smart. I'll tell you that. I mean, I've been around the smartest people on the planet. I'm not that smart, but I'm pretty damn aware. And I have special abilities that make up for my, you know, my intelligence. And I could tell that they were actually, you know, almost to the extent of leaving things in certain areas that I would find. And, you know, I'm not a channeler, okay, but there was definitely some things that have happened in my notebooks and on my boards that I could not explain that helped me get the algorithms to make these beautiful devices and putting two and two together.
Yep.
And it's kind of like, you know, I will get up in the middle of the night. If they tell me to get up and they say, go to your computer, I will get up, turn the computer on, and there'll be something there that I need to read. I didn't do anything. I wasn't up searching the night before. You know, Dolly, you have this happen a million times.
Oh, a million at least. Yeah.
So I take it very seriously, whether it's something driving down the road I see, whether it's a weird magazine that came in the mail that I usually don't read. There's messages right in front of your face everywhere.
Right. Yeah. I tell Preston all the time, you know, it's like, I want to talk about something today because I got led to it today and I need to get it out verbally. So it's in the air around me. So I'm looking at it, and then I'll tell Preston what it is. And he's like, what? And I have to repeat myself sometimes. Yeah. And it's because I was led literally to something that I needed to see, needed to hear, whatever. And I had already been downloaded previously to like already accept it for when I heard it. It was like, okay, here it is. You're going to get, you know, the pictures will show up later. Don't worry about it. Just da, 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 da. And I have synesthesia really bad. All right. When I hear math or music or whatever, I see colors and I see 3D things, you know, moving around. And when I see equations, I see them in as a synesthesia kind of thing. And each number has a certain color. Absolutely. And I go crazy from it. One of the things that started me on the direction that I went to was when I was, I guess it was 13 years old, and I was in the 7th grade. And I was really into magnetism. I wanted to know how it works. Okay. What is it? Because other than my encounters and stuff, I was obsessed with understanding magnetism. I had a whole bunch of magnets. I played with them all the time. I used to do experiments. I mean, I did crazy stuff. Right?
Me too, actually.
And then I said,
I collected magnets.
And I went to what E.T. taught me is the all mind. Okay, is God. Okay, and he said you have to intend the question, be direct, be firm about what you want, and then shut up and wait for the answer. So I did that. I put the question out there. I stated it very clearly. I thought about it for 2 days straight. And then one night I wake up in the middle of the night because I just got the biggest bloody download of my entire life. And I knew it. I knew it. And I went to school because I didn't know who to talk to about it. You know, my dad was always gone. And so I went to school and I found my mathematics teacher, and then I found the physics teacher and all those guys. And one of them in particular watched everything I did in school anyway. And I asked him point blank, I said, can you supercool a magnet and make it float? And he looked at me. Now, this is before we were all told about elevated trains. Okay. You know, and he's looking at me, and I know that he's with the I know. And he's staring at me and he said, what made you think of that? And I said, I don't know. I just, got the idea. I'm not telling him that I'm downloaded from time to time. He said, how do you think that works? And I said, if you can supercool something to so many degrees below zero, that magnetized piece of whatever you're doing will counter gravity. And he said, how does that work? Why is that happening? And I said, because you're changing its polarity by freezing it. And he went, oh, and he knew I knew what I was talking about. And he said, really? And he said, you need to keep going with that. Now, I went to ET about it after that. And I got almost, finally, she asked the right question, okay. And they started teaching me the way I wanted to go with that. And I started learning things about anti-grav and things like that, that was later going to work into me flying for them. Okay. I have to understand what to fly, right? And I wanted to be a pilot too, really, really bad. You know why I didn't do it? Because I broke my knee skating, roller skating once so bad, and broke my femur that I can't do it. And it broke my heart because I wanted to get jets. I really did.
Right. Yeah.
And I swear to you, I think that they let that happen to me, honest to God, because a kid out of nowhere dive bombed me in front of me, and I jumped over him and I went down on my knee and it tore it to ribbons. I mean, the kneecap, everything. And I cried for hours because nobody was home. My friend's mom took me home. Nobody's there. We had to wait to get me to an ER. I mean, by the time they did, I was already in really trouble with it. Messed it up really bad.
Yeah.
But I felt directed to go in different, you know what I'm saying? So here's the question to you. Did you ever have things that happened to you that sent you, you know, like you were bopped in the backside? No, not this way, this way. This door, not that door. Did you ever have those happen to you? You know,
Yeah, I mean, definitely. This happens all the time. It could be, you know, you think you might be on the right path or reading the right book or getting the right intel.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you know, out of left field comes a car accident. I'm going to get vicious, okay?
Okay.
Or it could be as easy as, oh my gosh, you know, I somehow spilled my, you know, glass of milk in the kitchen. It's going to make me late for 15 minutes.
Yep.
And then you find out if you know, and all of a sudden I receive a call, you know, that I wouldn't have been able to answer if I wasn't home.
That's right. Yep.
Or, you know, all this stuff plays out. So you also meet the right extraterrestrials and hybrids and humans in your daily life. Could be walking in the park. It could be at a convention. It could be through another person in the weirdest ways. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I'm never going to complain about why that happened. So I think there's a lot of small stuff that happens daily, which, you know, I'm sure you're I'm hyper aware of little things, the silliest little things. And I'll talk about it, but, you know, it's just how I operate. Right. Because there are messages in everything. How much you want to absorb those messages and look into it, that's another, you know, gift that, you know, that shows that you're really trying to figure it out and find out, you know, what do you guys want me to do next?
Right. When you're hyper aware and you're operating wide open psychic, one of the things you learn while you're doing it, and it's almost as an afterthought once you get it, or you understand that, oh, the light bulb just went off, is that the hyper awareness is literally you being available to receive information from everything, everyone, everywhere, all at once. Okay. And it's like walking through a sea of energy all the time. And some things are aimed directly at you, and some things just go right by you. And it's knowing when it is aimed at you to pay attention to it. In other words, you direct your attention to it. You say, what is that? Why am I looking at this? What is going on? And you'll get information from it. And I've had that happen to me directly, like you're talking about. I was driving down the road once in a full-on rainstorm after dropping my mom off in Florida to go, you know, to an assisted living place. My daughter was like right by there. And my friend was with her in the car. And all of a sudden, I had this huge urge. I just knew, slow the hell down. And I went 45 mile an hour from a 70 mile an hour road. And she's like, why are you doing that? And I said, I have to. And she's like, what are you talking about? And then a little bit further down the road, a massive accident had just occurred. And if I had been traveling that speed, I would have been in the middle of it. It was a very bad accident. And people were hurt. And I was like, oh, yes, pay attention. It's like
the whole trick is listening.
Yeah.
I've had that many times with my writing. Like, you know, that bookstore, you need to go there right now. Right, go right now. There would be the book I was looking for a long time, or a witness, or, you know, I have avoided car accidents that way. I've met people I really needed to meet, and I think this is a form of guidance that, you know, we all need to learn how to do.
Because beside yourself out there are people who are sending thoughts out all the time in the same life with you. And then there are others who are not in this life who are around you as well, sending you information as well. Then there's interdimensional beings sending you information. It's like a whole sea of everything that we're all swimming in. And the more connected you are to everything, the more it all comes into play and helps you live your life. You know, we're still the pilot of our own boats. Okay. We make our own decisions, but if somebody is aware that you're about to walk off a cliff and they say, "Oh, don't take that next step. Think about this." That's a clue. Pay attention. You know, I have a really good friend who talks about synchronicities, and I think that's a nice little word to describe what this phenomenon is of knowing. You know, of knowing.
Because and trusting that intention too. You got to trust it because your life could depend on it.
That's right.
I mean, this is sixth sense on steroids when you get to this level, and it helps you with daily life. It helps you with others.
It also puts you in a position to help as well.
Yes.
See what I'm saying? We meet people who need our help, and they don't know it, and we don't know that we're going to give it yet, but it can actually occur. You look at somebody, and you go, "Oh yeah, it's my turn now. Okay, here we go." And you help them, and you don't even think about it. And it's part of being psychic, because the desire, it's not really a desire. It's informed consent between two energies merging together to make something whole again, you know, to make it work right. It's guidance works both ways. You can't heal yourself unless you're willing to heal yourself. And sometimes you need help to heal. And you meet those energies, or you're looking for knowledge and somebody has that knowledge, and you walk into them, you go, "Hey," and you have a meeting of the minds. You know, people don't realize how important this is, that we should enjoin each other all the time like this. It's part of your training, you know, how to communicate. Whitley Strieber called it, what was the name of his book? Communion, but I call it consensus. I was taught the word consensus. We're all in consensus with one another. Consensus, where we consent to be enjoined with one another, you know, and work things out. So, yeah.
No, I love it. Absolutely. And, you know, I think communication is one of the biggest setbacks the humans have with everything. I mean, every war is from communicating. That's why it's so important to learn and have telepathy be like the newest thing, because you'll never get that text message wrong because it's full of so much information. You know, if I'm sitting here with Dolly and Preston going, "Okay, I'm thinking I want to go to the park and have lunch with them." So when they get that transmission, not only do they see the park, they see the weather forecast, they see the colors, they know exactly what food to bring, because that's what I'm thinking. You know, they see all this stuff in 1 second. So it's not just, "Hey, let's go to the park." I don't have to say which park. They already know because they see it.
That's right.
I don't have to go through all this back and forth, the time, what time. That's already, everything's in that one little pocket of information that comes, you know, from infraspace there to that person, because you're everywhere all the time. And it's a hard concept for people to get in their heads, especially scientists and quantum physicists. But if you can just break that barrier and just live that day knowing that.
Yeah,
and that's exactly how ETs communicate. I mean, you just nailed it right on the head.
This is the best education I can give you on this program is to shut off your phone and Wi-Fi for just one day. Tell everyone you're not going to be available. Okay. And think about what I just said, that you're everywhere all the time. And if you have, you know, meditate, walk around, ground yourself, just very easy things to help yourself. You know, these things are just amazing to elevate your consciousness and to also look within.
Yes.
Because before you venture out, you're going to venture in. Venturing, venturing in sometimes is a little bit longer and harder journey than venturing out. And once you get to see the workings of that, talk to your body, talk to all of your cells, talk to your organs. Okay.
Well, this kind of leads to my question is, you know, there are so many of us out there, I think every person on earth at some point suffers from illness and disease and all fatigue and all this stuff. What can we do from your perspective, from what you've learned, what simple steps can anyone take to help themselves heal?
Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, number one, I'm a really big believer in sleep. If your body needs repair, if you have an ailment or cancer, I believe in hydration is key factor, the type of water. So water and sleep and keeping stress levels down for your healing adventure is super important. And breath work is simple and fast. And you can look up breath work. I'm sure Dolly can
we
send
can
you people.
About it. That's right.
I do a 7 seconds in, 7 seconds hold, and a 7 seconds out. So in through the mouth, 7 seconds slowly. And I'll do that before I go to bed every night. And you probably won't be able to do that more than 2 or 3 times because you're going to be asleep. It'll knock you out that quick.
Yeah,
but it's also good for when you wake up. Believe it or not, it's also when you first wake up, because you're being aware of nothing else, not your phone, not letting dogs out. You're thinking, I'm focusing just on me. And the key to these little secrets are you're focusing just for those 21 seconds about you. And you don't do that. I know you don't do that. All of you out there listening, you guys don't do that. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe Dolly and Preston do, but I mean, not many people do this.
Complaining and thinking about what they have to do tomorrow or the next day. And they don't realize that they came out of a restful sleep already stressed out.
That's it. You already set off the cortisol levels. You're setting the day. And the other part is, I can't stress this more enough. If you can ground, I'm not talking about grounding sheets you buy on eBay or Amazon. I'm talking about going outside barefoot, somehow, that's connected to dirt underground or a rock. Definitely, if it's a lake, put your feet in the lake or swim. Water is very important. Salt baths are really, really important for your health. And you have to have a myriad of different types of salts, not just Himalayan, not just Pacific coast. You got to have a bunch of different salts, and you got to mix it with magnesium, which is basically Epsom salt is not salt, by the way. That's magnesium.
That's right.
So you need to use magnesium with your salt. So people, I took a salt bath. What'd you use? Oh, I used Epsom salt. No, gosh. You need the Earth's essential salts that has orms in it and very other special frequencies to detox the body of the radioactive elements that you have picked up throughout your day, like deuterium. So these are great ways, the simple, cost-effective ways of doing all that stuff. Of course, I have special types of ormuses and solutions on my site, emerysmith.co. That you could be educated on. We also do these special scans through frequency devices to find out what your body, and these scans are not just scans, they're actually they actually treat you while you're getting scanned. And you can read up on that on my website at emerysmith.co. So yeah, I think those, Preston, are the basics of just survival, health survival that I was brought up with. I was lucky enough to have a lake. I was lucky enough to have clay in that lake. I was lucky enough to have an organic, grew up on an organic farm. Where I was in my cutoff jeans barefoot every day. And that's just just like you guys. So that's what it was. Now at my later years here, I had to reproduce that in my new home-based sanctuary, and I did. So I have giant rocks from Sedona in the ground here I lay on.
You really? Oh, wow. Yeah.
I have access to, water. I have 25 giant pine trees that are, 3 feet or 4 feet in diameter surrounding the house. We do a lot of gridding with selenite rods. So, I'm on the largest granite, my house sits on the largest granite, quartz granite piece in Nevada. So there's a mine that's literally, a mile away from my house with rare earth, elements.
That's why I like Georgia, because Georgia is a solid piece of granite with sand on it. And I love the Blue Ridge Mountains for that reason, because it's all granite and sand. You ground instantly, you walk out the door in your bare feet and you're already on there you are.
And just so everyone knows, that sand is ground quartz silica. It's the most powerful thing.
That's right. Yeah.
It's what your glasses are made out of.
Exactly. That's right. You just go out, play in it, you dig in it, you lay in it. We have water as well. We even had a pond put in, because I need that running water for the energy that creates as well.
That's what I'm trying to do that too. Dolly, I'm going to make a man-made lake, because I've done it before with my koi ponds in Florida. I made giant lakes that were natural, with natural bacteria in Florida. So I'm going to make a man-made pool, but it's of course got to be a lake.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to get rid of the pool and put the man-made lake in, so I can swim around with the fish.
That's right.
I see a question here. Emery, can we heal on someone else's behalf? Can we heal?
Is a person do psychic hands-on healing, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's best to always have permission to do this. Now we do this with our frequency devices.
You have to be receptive to healing too.
You have to be right. You have to be receptive. But we have done this. We've had family members that they were in comas and they could not communicate with the people. We've had many stroke victims, heart attack victims, other horrible things, and we were able to scan and go ahead and scan them, treat them, send them the other scalar frequencies in, get them to wake up and communicate with them, and improve their life dramatically. So the question is, if you're doing Reiki, if you're doing nonlinear system scanning, depending on what you're doing, I think it's okay, kind of like the CPR law, you're trying to save someone's life. If they're a highly elevated psychic being, you might want to be careful with that, because maybe they're already working, because we don't, anytime anything happens to me or, Darla, we don't go ask the world for it, because we already have our team working on us, and another team coming in unannounced will look like a threat.
Yeah.
So we have special team members that protect us, and as we're doing the healing, but also projecting a shield, so that, we have to, be careful with, this. So even though you have it in the best of your, every situation is different. So that is a complicated question, but I hope that answers.
Yeah. Well, we're running low on time. We've got about 5 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
This has been amazing.
Is there any other questions? Yeah, sure. I'd love it. This is great.
Well, let me see. I didn't get a whole lot of questions, but I thought
They're enthralled. Excuse me. English, not so good in English.
I'm not sure exactly what this is. Could you create a sternum inside a body using frequencies? I'm not sure what that exactly.
Well, we can. Number one, we can grow any organ, any bone material. I don't know why you would want to regrow the sternum, but I'm not going to ask why. But yes, you can. Through pure frequency alone, like we're doing some limb salvaging testing right now, and that involves not only frequency being applied to the area, but also physical 3-dimensional biological agents to stimulate that, and to reprogramming the cells of the body, because like the salamander has its own, when you cut its leg off, it grows right back. And the reason for that is because it's projecting a holographic image of that, of that part of the body. It's emitting this. We prove this. And so you can do that with humans. And in the future, of course, all this technology will be out and available. And that's part of my job, is to get all this stuff out to you guys. So you guys will become the practitioners of your own home, and you won't need to spend money. You won't need to go out, because in the future, and most extraterrestrial children I've met at very young ages, 8, 13, they already, remember, their IQs are through the roof, and they have already had medical training for their species and other species. And so they already know what to do in a trauma situation, and also know not to lessen their abilities to get into a bad situation is the secret to avoid the fight, right, Dolly? Martial artist. So that's the secret. So it's the same thing with health.
Yep.
All right. So what about
with
the treatments for autism as well?
Yeah.
We haven't done. We have not ventured into autism that I can speak of with our systems.
All right.
Yeah.
And there's no problem with autistic people. They're actually normal. They're just, they just have a lot going on. And if you can find out what that is going on and direct it in a safe and effective way, then they'll be okay. If not,
neurodivergence means that they are heavily receptive to any stimulation, physical, mental, hearing, sound, taste, all of it. It's their brain is sometimes so overwhelmed because they're generally very intelligent, and they're generally so psychic that they're being bombarded, and they haven't learned to calm down the signals coming in on them. And what they try to do with autistic children now is help them to shield themselves from the intensity or the volume of the stimulation coming in, the vibrational, frequencies coming in at them. That's their challenge. And there's a lot of work being done with it, but they don't have a 100% handle on it yet. So they're still fighting over why it happens, but it does,
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's 9:55, so we really got to wrap it up. Do you have any last words, Emery, for people?
No, I want to thank you guys, and thanks for all the listeners out there. Really appreciate being part of this new group here. And like I said, if you're interested in what I have to say and more things like it, you can always follow us on Gaia TV on Cosmic Disclosure. We don't talk about the medical stuff, but we do talk about ET related phenomenon. But for this kind of cool stuff you do, you can definitely check us out. You can subscribe at emerysmith.co, also at our Facebook page, Cosmic Disclosure Alliance. And I know Dolly's going to be on my podcast here pretty soon. Once our stuff airs at Cosmic Disclosure, we spent a whole week filming. It was so much fun with Gaia TV up there in Boulder, Colorado. And I think, I don't know if did they start airing that yet?
No, it's close. It's this close.
I think it's next week. Yeah, it's probably going to come out next week on my birthday. My birthday's the 28th, so I'm looking forward to that.
All right, I'll remember that.
Happy birthday. Very
Thank
cool.
you. And thank you, Preston, for setting this all up. Thank you, Dolly, for having me. And thank you, everyone else.
Thank you, Emery. Thank you very much. Everybody, please replay this show again if there's information that you need. Emery said a lot, and it's going to be a lot of unpacking to do for you. So thank God we have the replay for you. So go for it if you need to. If you have questions, you can still send messages to Emery through his sites, or you can even write to us, and we'll send you in his direction as well.
Yeah, my email is cosmicmarket3@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we've got your links in the show notes as well too, so that should help. But
okay. Cool.
Yeah, we have to wrap it up. Thanks, Namaste, Bob Thorson. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Emery. Thank you, Mr. Catfish. You guys are absolutely wonderful for helping us with our show.
Thank you.
Really, really enjoyed our guest tonight, and thank you, everyone. All right, Dolly. Yeah, we have to wrap it up.
Right. Thank you for joining us on Lightgate. We're coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're on the Gulf Coast. We are on Roku. We are on Rumble. We are on Facebook. And we
Rumble?
Rumble. Yeah, sorry about that. And YouTube. We love y'all very much. Please, y'all, go have a wonderful week. Think about what it means to heal, and think about things that Emery said, because it's important. He's given you a lot of really good information. We love you all very much, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, everyone.